Hi, I'm Mike Miller. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks so much for watching. My guest today, Michael Leza. I appreciate you being here. And so how's everything been going for you this year?
This year I started the year working a terrible kind of 9 to 5-ish type job. I was working from home, but I was doing Amazon customer support.
Oh, really?
And and I kind of got into the situation where a lot of people get into, where like every month you like look at your finances and realize you're losing a little bit of money. You know, like, oh, I put this on a credit card because I couldn't afford groceries or whatever. And I was like, I'm losing money. Like, I'm literally like,
Did you have like an eBay store or?
No, I didn't have anything at the time. I was just
Yeah.
doing the customer support and a little bit of photography, but it was just not, I was not bringing in the amount of money that I needed to pay my bills and things like that. And so I was like, well, if I'm going to be failing anyway, I might as well like actually like go for broke and just go crazy. And so I just couldn't take it anymore. Like, I was just sick of like answering customer support phone calls and all that. And I said, I basically called my boss during one of the performance reviews, and because they did it like every week, and I was like, hey, this is my 2 weeks notice, like I'm done. And then just like, I didn't really have a solid plan in place at the time. I knew I wanted to do wood transfers, and part of that was because I had just made a few for fun, and I posted pictures of them on Facebook, and immediately people were like, how much do those cost? I want one. And I was like, and I just kind of like ballparked it, like $30, I don't know.
Yeah.
And they were like, done, sold. Like, I was like, wow, I should ask for more, you know?
That's a nice gift for that price.
Oh yeah, well, it started out like that, and I was just like, man, I'm just gonna try and do that. The community market was about to start.
How many did you make when you first started making them?
The very first batch I made was completely messed up, and I had to like just.
Oh, really?
Like start, yeah, it's actually, I think I still have one of them sitting around somewhere.
But that didn't discourage you. You knew you could do it.
I knew it, and it was doable. I just like had to figure out what I did wrong.
Yeah,
so,
that's good.
And the second batch I made, they looked better. They weren't perfect, but I actually still have one of those. And then I made the third batch, and they were actually like pretty cool. And those were the ones I posted pictures of, and people were like, "Oh my god!" And so I was like, I'm gonna try. The response to this was so immediate and sudden. Like, certain people just see it and they're just like, I need to own a picture on a piece of wood. You know, like
I can see people liking those. I know that my mom and a lot of people would love something. She likes things like that on her walls. You know?
Exactly. And they'd make great gifts, and especially because I do commissions, it kind of like expands the market out, because you can take whatever you want and have me make it.
Yeah, have it put on wood like that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I kind of like, I had a feeling that things would go pretty well. So I just took a bunch of my Denton pictures and just nice pictures that I had, and I just made a bunch of stuff. And looking back, it really was not even that much. You know, like, I eventually got to the point where I was making probably about 3 or 4 times as much in a week. And then I made a deal with the coordinator of community market to basically pay for my booth. I like showed her how much it would cost, because she wanted me to come take pictures at the market.
Yeah.
And she was talking about paying me, and so I showed her. I was like, hey, this is how much it would cost to pay me through the entire season to come out and take pictures, and this is how much it would cost you to give me a booth for free, and I will just spend an hour taking pictures every week. And when I showed her the breakdown, it was basically she was like saving, a huge amount of money by doing it that way. And that way I, can kind of help out the market, and everyone ends up winning.
That's a very good idea, yeah.
So I did that, and so I paid for my booth with photography, at the market, and then just went ahead and like went out there and set up, and like even on that first day, like it was really funny. It was really slow. Like until about, and I later learned that this is just normal.
Yeah.
But until about 11 o'clock, like I didn't make any sales.
Yeah.
And I was like getting to the point where I was like, if I don't sell anything today, I'm just gonna like flip this table over and just like get in my car and just drive to Oklahoma or Colorado or something and just disappear, because I can't do this, like I'm not going back to that. This was like fresh out of that customer support job,
Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot do that anymore. I can't work for other people. They're just
crazy.
Like, while I was working for them, I actually like recorded all of the bad management things that had happened to me.
Really?
And I would like create this, like, it was like basically what I would say to my boss if I felt like my boss was mature enough adult to hear the things that she needed to hear. And so I made that thing. But anyway, so it was just, I was like, I can't go back. Well, anyway, I later on figured out that at the market, the first hour or two are mostly people there that are there to like buy from the farmers.
Yeah.
And they're there for produce. And so what they do
Produce.
is they go pick up their produce and they just kind of like walk around, hang out, and listen to
Yeah.
music and whatever. But they're not really there to shop for fancy
Gifts,
things or
yeah.
gifts or anything. And then the people who are there to shop for gifts, it's like a completely different crowd.
Yeah.
And a large, mostly.
Yeah.
And they come later
Come
because they
later.
sleep in, you
Yeah.
know, and they're eating breakfast and
Have a
whatever.
nice breakfast.
And then they come ready to shop.
Yeah.
So in that first day, like between 9, which is when it opens, and 11, I didn't make any money. And then between 11 and 1, when it closes, I made like $250.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
That's good.
and I was just like, holy cow! So
Yeah.
this is working out pretty nicely.
That's good. And
And-
that's been such a great event for so many people to be able to participate and enjoy, families and
Oh, the market is, to me, like the ideal for what every community should have
Sure.
to remove barriers to entry. Like many businesses, like if I wanted to set up a little art business, like without the Denton Community Market, I mean, I'd have to set up a storefront or rent some space in a storefront,
Yeah.
and it would be significantly more expensive.
oh yeah.
And when you're just starting out, you don't have a lot of resources a lot of time
Really?
to make those mistakes or to mess up. Whereas at the market, if I show up at the market with completely wrong things and I don't make any money, it costs me $11,
Yeah.
you know, and that's not a big deal.
No, that's not a big
So-
deal. That's very fair, yeah.
Exactly. And so,
I think Katie's done a great job of managing that over the last few years.
No, what she's built is amazing, and Denton owes her a debt of gratitude. Honestly, it's, I mean, like there are several like thriving, successful businesses that got started at the Denton Community Market.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think the best example is Amber Briggle's Soma Massage Therapy.
Really?
Like, yeah, she originally started out with like a little chair out at the market, like, and she built her client base from there.
Yeah.
And now she's employing like I think 7 or 8 people
That's
in
great.
town. I mean, yeah, it's just, you know, and that's what happens when you remove barriers to entry.
That's
So,
right, yeah.
you know,
there are
and there-
talented people out there who have great services to offer the community. They just can get going with it and get some exposure, yeah.
Right, and I can just sing the praises of the market all day. I love it. I love being out there. I love being able to sell things and meeting people in the community. So I love the fact that like people like came by my booth in like July or June, you know, and got my card. And in the last couple of weeks, now it's Christmas time, they're sending me emails and they're like, oh, they still remember my stuff. Like
Yeah.
they're still, you know, like
Oh, yeah.
just seeing it the one time, it's
That's
been sticking
right.
in their brain the whole time.
Yeah.
And of
They-
course, being humans, they procrastinate to the last minute and they're like,
Yeah.
I need a gift right now. So actually, when we're done here, that's what I'm going to go back and do.
Yeah, you just got back from Florida and went through New Orleans.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
took photography while you
Oh,
were
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some pictures in New Orleans. I've got some pictures in Florida, some beach pictures. I've got some nice new stuff, which...
That's
and
a nice trip down that way.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you take, there's like scenic routes as you're going along the coast. You can either take the interstate, which is faster, but the scenic route's better.
Oh, yeah.
You can like,
For sure.
you're basically just driving along the beach and for just miles and miles and miles. And I got to say, the Gulf Coast has cleaned up a lot since the last time I took that drive. Like,
Yeah,
like
that's
they've put
good.
a lot of effort into making them real nice.
Biloxi and all that looks
Oh yeah,
good, yeah.
yeah, all the way through. Like, yeah, so yeah.
And-
now I'm finally back and making things again.
Denton has grown so much, though. There's so many events around here, so much to do, and you do photography at a lot of events, a lot of music events, and as well as the community market.
Yeah, actually, that's really where I started cutting my teeth. There was actually, I taught myself photography.
Really?
And I started in 2011.
Yeah,
Was when I really got serious about it. I'd always liked it before that.
Yeah.
But like, that was when I was like, I want to do this.
you
Like,
decided to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what's funny is I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like telling her like, you know, I'm really enjoying photography, and like I'm looking for things to shoot or people to take pictures of or whatever. She's like, you should go to this event at Abbey Underground. It's every Wednesday, and it'll be fun, and you can take pictures, and you know nobody will mind. And
what event was that?
it's called it was called Pub Step.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was like this dance music event with like all these like lasers and flashing lights and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's give that a try. And you know, I before that, I just never really went to bars. I'm like not a heavy drinker. Like I'm not even a light drinker really by most people's standards.
Me neither, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just, you know, like there wasn't really a lot for me
Yeah,
at the bars because, you know, I just
yeah.
wasn't my scene. But taking my camera down into that basement
Gave you something to do. Yeah.
Yeah, all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is, and for most of the time I would go there, I wouldn't even drink. But that first night, I went down there and I shot some pictures, and I really didn't have the right gear for it. I had a decent camera.
Yeah.
But the lens I had was not right. And so I was just
because
down there.
Because of the lighting, so much
exactly,
extreme
so
lighting.
dark, and it's like
the,
super dark, and then you had like bright lasers and things like that, which kind of gives really cool pictures.
Yeah.
Almost everything, pretty much everything that I shot that night, at this point, I look back and I'm like, that's garbage. But there's one picture specifically it was like the picture that I shot that night.
Really?
And it's the one that I always look back at, and like that, when I saw that picture, like when I got back and I like saw it on my computer, I was like, I can do this. Like I can get the pictures that I want. Like I can get there's something awesome to see down in these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of started me on the road. And from there, like I just started going out, and I'd like go out to all kinds of concerts, started meeting musicians.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of musicians in town, they don't really have a lot of money. And so they're always happy if somebody's going to show up and just shoot pictures of their show.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty much, I have yet to really have a musician who's like, don't shoot pictures of me while I'm playing music. Like they really, like most of them appreciate it.
It captures that moment that they can always remember that show from those pictures. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it just kind of went from there. I think one of the big breakthroughs for me was I went to the very first Star Party show, which is like
really? Yeah.
dance music band here in Denton. They're a really awesome band. Like they really know how to get a crowd pumping and moving and dancing, better than almost any other act that I've ever seen.
That is a fun show to go to.
Oh yeah, it's great, and it's also they really, what I appreciate about them, what I appreciate about any musician, is that like, to me, like there's two ways to enjoy music. There's like kind of like just sitting around, you're just like listening to the music itself. And that's like something you can do at home or just wherever, just listen to recordings basically.
Yeah.
But then there's like going to a show. Mm-hmm. And for me personally, and I know a lot of people disagree with this, but for me personally, to really enjoy going to a show and to like make all the effort and spend the money and all that stuff, what I really want at a show is a show. Like I want something to see, like a spectacle,
entertainment,
or at least like move around. Like Star Party, like they do masks and costumes and lasers. They have an amazing lighting guy named Larry Powers, and he just knocks it out of the park with like the fog machines. Like he like silhouettes them with these like blazing laser fans and stuff like that. It's incredible. And so as a photographer especially, and I love the music.
Yeah.
And so between those two things, like I am just always happy at a Star Party show. Like, and some of the best pictures that I have, those are from their shows.
I'll have to check those out.
Yeah, it's a good time. So there's that.
Billy Radcliffe is very talented.
Oh yeah, Billy. I love Billy. He's a.
And who's the other guy?
There's Billy, he plays bass and has a Chaos pad. There's Andrew Miller on keyboards.
Yeah, Andrew Miller,
who is also awesome. There's Jake Steinberg on guitar and talkbox, and he like sings through the thing. And there's Charla.
Violin or?
Oh yeah, she plays a violin and also consistently has the most amazing costumes. Like really, I mean, and she's just like, she's so good, and she sings. Like she's pretty amazing, and then of course Matt and Gary, Matt Woods and Gary Barnhart.
Yeah.
Gary plays guitar. I love Gary because Gary is all about like engaging the crowd, and engaging the community, and like like they are all doing that, but like Gary like thrives off of it. And I have a picture that I love of Gary from Rubber Gloves. Which I hate shooting at Rubber Gloves. Like the lighting is always bad. Like it's just something about that place. Like the walls just absorb all the light or something.
Yeah.
And but I have this one picture specifically of Gary at Rubber Gloves that I really love. And he's like reaching out in the crowd, everyone's just reaching back for him and stuff like that. And like that's how I see him. So it's just and Matt just like back there just like drumming away. A lot of bands have this problem, like they always just kind of put the drummer in the back.
Yeah.
Like the drummer's always like kind of afterthought, Yeah. And so one of my personal challenges to myself is I always try as hard as I can to make sure that I get at least one good shot of the drummer.
That's good.
Which is like extreme difficulty level. Like it's usually, I would love to actually see a band where they just like actually just gave everyone their own spot with their own spotlight, like then I mean
like
they'd have
Phil
to have,
Collins,
I'd have to have a huge stage to do that,
Yeah.
But it would be nice to actually that, or sometimes you can see the drummer but nobody bothered to light him.
Yeah.
and it's like drummers in the band, guys, you know, like, and he's like kind of like an essential part of
sure.
that whole
That's
formula.
the beat that everybody feels.
Exactly. So I'm just, but actually I talked to Larry about it after like I think the second show that he lit, and I said, hey, don't forget to put light on the drummer. And actually since then he's been really good about it.
Really? Well, that's good.
Yeah. I've got another good one from Haley's where it's actually I'm standing behind Matt because they let me get up on the stage. Like I kind of made friends with everyone in the band, right?
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, you can get up on the stage, just do whatever you want, just have a good time. It's all about having a good time. And so I'll just like, especially at Haley's where there's a lot of room.
Yeah, it's a big place.
And I've had to learn to like carefully walk around the stage because I don't want to like unplug someone's monitor or something,
Yeah.
But I had this shot that's like from behind Matt, and you can kind of see the crowd. It's kind of dark. It's really grainy.
I think I saw that.
But
yeah.
I love that shot. It's got like little lights and stuff like that, and it kind of captures that moment of like, like it's just like everything about going to one of these shows.
Yeah, so those are the real stars, the people who show up and make it fun. Yeah.
Well, exactly, and it's like if the band can be super awesome, but you need a crowd who's like willing to engage with the music.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's what I like. One of my other bands that I like, and they don't do like lasers or lights or anything like that. But Hairs on the Mountain.
Oh yeah, they're great. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is another band that's like super engaged with the crowd. Like they're all about audience participation, and of course George is probably the most energetic musician I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that's a good example of someone who's like putting on a show. Like he's not just up there just like singing. I'm just singing.
Yeah.
Like he's up there like dancing, and they're all pretty dynamic. I have actually a really great shot where George was like running around being crazy, and Petra, the violinist, he was just like behind her, and she just turned around and went to kick him, and I actually caught the moment where like right before her boot hit him in the ass.
Really?
And it was awesome. It's one of my favorite pictures from any music show that I've shot. I actually made a wood transfer of it. Didn't come out exactly right, so I have to remake it. But
yeah.
But
do those work better if it's pictures of a building usually, or rather than people?
No, actually, it
works just as well.
Yeah, I actually really like people on it because people tend to have they tend to like have the skin tone is like even. It's like an even color.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you'll be able to see the wood grain through it.
Really? Yeah.
And of course, the lighter anything is, lighter their skin or whatever, the more wood grain you can see. And that's like one of my favorite things about doing it.
A unique effect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's no whites in a wood transfer. There's just wood grain. So, and it's got kind of a unique look. You kind of have to see it to really appreciate it. That's actually one of my favorite things about the process.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of like, because it anchors it into this, like it takes photography, which is, people treat it ephemerally. It's like, they're just like, most people engage with photography, they do it online, and they're on Instagram, and they're doing this. Oh, I like that one, and they double tap it to like it, and then they just keep scrolling. Like they engage with it for like 2 seconds.
2 seconds, yeah.
Or maybe even still, like for most people, the next step up is to get a print of a picture.
Yeah.
And that's still just a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, people like just in their psychology, like they look at a piece of paper and they don't care about it as much as they do, unless it's like a very special picture for them. And even then, it's like the image itself. It's not. I mean, but the paper artifact just doesn't, matter to them, as opposed to like say a painting.
Yeah.
Or a sculpture, something that's like physical. And so to take a picture and to make it into a physical object that has weight and heft and dimensionality to it, it causes people to engage with the images in a way that they wouldn't do otherwise.
Yeah.
So and actually I have a thing that I'll be doing next year that involves 3D printing.
That is what now?
It involves 3D printing.
Oh, really?
And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, you're still working it out.
Yeah, but it's gonna be super awesome. Like
well,
it's
that's
gonna
cool.
be. Yeah, and it's like that's kind of what has really captured my brain about all this is finding ways to take photography, which I feel is an undervalued form of art, and to show people like that it's capable of doing things that you can't do with any other medium.
Yeah.
Unless you are like the world's, like there's like that one guy who can like do drawings and make them look like photos.
Really?
And unless you're that guy,
you're
like
him,
like it's still a painting, it's still a drawing. But with photography, you can take a moment and you just like rescue it from the ravages of time. You know, and just save it forever. And
Save it forever, yeah.
Exactly, or at least as long as human civilization survives.
Yeah.
So, and I'll try not to get too deep into my cynicism as far as that goes.
How about the thin line? Were you involved with that some, or?
I wasn't really officially involved, but because I tend to just bring my camera everywhere I go, especially at festivals, I did end up shooting a little bit.
And they're doing a photography part too, aren't they? They have a photography contest or something.
They, I don't know what they're doing this year, but I know last year they had a whole team of volunteer photographers going around because I'm pretty sure that was the first year where they combined music. And the film festival and all that together. So they were having music shows, and
I think this year they've combined photography with it too.
Yeah, I think it's. I haven't. I don't
know what they're doing.
Gotten briefed on that recently. But, but my thing is always to just, like when I look back through my archive of pictures, which is 4.5 terabytes of pictures now.
Really?
Yeah. I'm having serious storage issues. Like I just had to buy a 4 terabyte drive to act as a backup for all of the stuff, and I'm gonna have to go through and dump it. It's gonna take days. Literally, it will take days.
Oh yeah.
Like just to transfer the files, but.
That's just thousands of pictures.
Oh, it's 120,000 pictures.
120,000.
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, a lot of that stuff is stuff I could probably get rid of, you know. But it's hard to go back through it now because it's so big. It's just like.
But you hate to get rid of one that, you know, sometimes you look at something and think, oh well, I can part with this, but then later you'll think about it again and wish you still had it.
Yeah, well, and that's why I try to be really careful. I generally, if I delete something, it's because it's just totally out of focus.
Yeah,
or it's
blurry. Or
it's just completely unusable. And if it's even a little bit usable, I generally just hold on to it because it doesn't really cost that much to hold on to it.
Yeah, yeah. When did you first, what was your first camera and you first started taking pictures? And
the first kind of like inkling that I wanted to get, well, okay, where I really got started was my mom.
Really?
She had an old Pentax camera when I was growing up. And it was a film camera. She had just like 1 or 2 lenses. And we'd take it on vacations and take pictures and things like that.
Yeah.
But of course, what would happen is I would take a roll of film. Like she'd give me 1 roll of film that I could shoot. And so I'd shoot my roll of film and not realize that I was completely out of focus or that I wasn't, you know, setting the exposure correctly or whatever. Like I just, you know, I wasn't doing it right because I didn't know what I was doing.
There's a lot to learn, yeah.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
and so, and I would just feel bad because we developed the pictures and, you know, spend all this money developing pictures and you get them back and it's just nothing. Like,
I know
it's just
it, yeah.
a whole roll of nothing.
That used to really be expensive.
Oh yeah, and I was like, I just felt guilty, like it's wasting all that money, like just to learn. But at some point, my brother got this like Sony digital camera. It was like one of the very first digital cameras.
Really?
It's like a 1 megapixel camera, which was like awesome at the time.
Yeah.
You know? And I'll explain it, like the ultimate illustration of how old it was. It actually had a slot where you could insert a floppy drive.
Really?
Like a floppy disk.
Oh, yeah.
A 1.4 megabyte floppy disk.
Yeah.
And that floppy disk could actually hold like 45 pictures or something, which is like, so yeah, they were tiny little pictures, but I got to play with that. And I was like, oh, digital photography is awesome. Like, if I don't like the pictures, I can just delete them and I can see what I'm doing in real time and, you know, like adjust and learn and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And once that started, like I was ready to do it.
Yeah.
So. And then of course, like it was funny, like that camera had been sitting on the shelf for like a year.
Yeah.
And then I lived with my brother at the time. And then as soon as he saw me playing with it and having fun, he was just like, all of a sudden he wanted it back, you know?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine. So, and then I didn't have a camera for about almost a year. And then I graduated in 2009.
Yeah.
And I went on this vacation as part of my graduation present for my parents.
Yeah.
And part of it is they bought me like a little $100 point and shoot camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And just with that point and shoot, I had so much fun that I was like, I need to upgrade this.
Yeah.
And that kind of started that path. So, but it was a Panasonic, like a Lumix point and shoot camera.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I mean, And the pictures, like I basically pushed that camera as far as it could go, but it just,
Yeah.
I wanted to shoot at night. That was the thing that's always compelled me.
Yeah.
You know, I love shooting like where there's like almost no light, and just like those things that you see when you're out at night in the dark.
Starlight and moonlight.
Starlight, moonlight, like just like, you know, or
Street
like
lights.
one street light, or like, you know, you see a road and it just looks plain and normal during the day, but at night it looks weird and magical because there's just like these pools of light, you know, and houses and like partially illuminated. It's just like, instead of, it leaves so much space for your imagination.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so hard to get those pictures.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
what is the name of your website?
newvintagewoodart.com.
Okay.
So I run pretty much everything through that now because I'm
Yeah.
trying to move more to I want most of my business, like at least 75 to 80% of my business, to be making and selling wood transfers.
Yeah.
So
And people can look at any of those pictures, and just any of those you could transfer over.
exactly, yeah, and generally anything I publish almost
You have a lot
everything.
of really nice ones of the courthouse. So many different times of the day it looks like, and things like that.
Yeah, I almost always have my camera with me, unless I know that I'm gonna be going somewhere that I can't bring it or something like that. And I'll be driving by the courthouse, and of course the courthouse is like the most photogenic thing in Denton.
Yeah.
You know.
With the lights and all that.
Oh yeah, and I'll see something nice. I'll see a good sky behind it, or just the lighting's right, or there's something going on, and I'll just go out there and shoot pictures.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. But I mean, I have kind of like a slowly increasing, like kind of set of courthouse pictures that I really like.
Yeah.
You know, and in my catalog, there's like 26 or something like that.
Yeah.
But of those, I feel like there's like 4 or 5 that are like the courthouse shots.
Yeah.
I've got one that's like at sunset,
Mm-hmm.
and you can barely see them, but there's like this couple, like, and they're all bundled up and walking in front of the courthouse.
Oh, really?
But it's kind of dark, so it's hard to see them most of the time, unless I make it big enough. And it's just kind of like, it's not the entire courthouse. It's like the central spire and then like one of the side ones.
Yeah.
And it's kind of got these nice blue sky with these clouds, and there's like a bird. You can see this bird like silhouetted against the sky, and it's like flying with its wings out.
Oh, really?
And it's like this tiny little detail.
Yeah.
There's always those tiny little details in
yeah.
these pictures that I love.
And kids notice things about that, about pictures too. They'll
Right.
notice all the detail. Yeah, they really look deeply.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that one. There's one that I call Spooky Courthouse, and it was this night about 2 years ago. It was like super foggy, like one of the foggiest nights I've seen in Denton. And I went out, and it was like in October, and all the trees were like, you know, there's no leaves or anything.
Yeah.
And I got this picture of the courthouse, and it's like the bottom of the courthouse. You can't really see it. I tuned up the color a little bit, but if you go out there and look, you'll see like the lights on the courthouse and the stone the courthouse is made of is a little bit green.
Really?
So, and then the top part is illuminated with these yellow lights.
Oh, yeah.
And then behind all that, like there's also these lights that like shine up at the thing, and it created this huge nimbus of glow in the fog.
Oh, really?
And so it's actually one of my most popular pictures that I make. Like whenever I make that one, I almost always sell it like right away.
Yeah.
Both of those actually are the 2 big ones. And then I've got some new ones. I've got a new one actually that I just shot during the eclipse.
Oh, really?
And I shot it from Pascal Bar, actually, from
Oh,
those
really?
second story windows. Yeah. And what I did is, because when you're shooting an eclipse, you're basically shooting a picture of the sun.
Yeah.
And it's not, like
Easy.
you just can't just do that, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to like, and so what I did, I wanted a picture of the sun setting with something cool in the foreground, and I realized I could put the courthouse in there if I hurried. And so like, I got in my car and like raced up to the square, and I was like looking, and it was like too late. Like the sun had already set too far, like, but I could see the sunlight was still hitting the windows of Pascal, and I was like, okay, I'm still okay. I've got like, you know, because the sun moves like this, the Earth is rotating, it's super fast, and so I like ran upstairs and I was like, can I get on you guys' roof? And they were like, no, and I'm like, whatever. And so I just went over to the window, and I realized that like the window was like creating lens flare. And so what I did is with this picture, it's the silhouette of the courthouse, and then like there's like kind of like a dark blue sky behind the courthouse, and then the sun kind of like bursting over the edge of the courthouse.
Yeah.
And then the lens flare that shows you the shape of the eclipse of the sun is on the courthouse tower, right about where the clock would be.
Really?
And it's just like the coolest picture that I've shot in the last 6 months. So.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all these stories with us. We've run out of time, but thank you so much for coming down. And
Absolutely.
thank you all for watching the show. We appreciate it, and have a great day.